Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God, we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba, Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. Right now, North Korea, wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean, lucky like we. Studio Galaxy Day for you and me. Galaxy Equalizer, ready like Freddy. And Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. We freedom of speech is sacrosanct. Make use of it. Let no one challenge. Blow your shell, beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss it too. Let the world know Studio Galaxy is around.
Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to the second part of our program. And this part is pure politics. We're on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. And we are the Galaxy Equalizers. And we encourage you to subscribe, share, and like our program. Based upon the technology now, that's all the assistance you have to give us to help us to grow. More people subscribe and share our program, better for us. We have to encourage local content. All of us is responsible. And today the topic, shouldn't we stop blaming others, examine ourselves, and wake up? Grenadians, the time has come for us to stop blaming others. We have to examine ourselves and we have to wake up. I always remember Tilaita data. Tilaita had about 11 children. One child, one single child that was able to go to university. She was the pride and joy of Tilaita. She have a double master's degree. But by the time she come out in university, and Tilaita living quite in Ticolo, she don't coming up and see her. And she said, the mother thief blogger when the mother the little. And the mother make children for different man. You have to understand, Tilaita was with Addington Wood. And they charge him in the court for stealing dry wood. So they sent him to jail. But Addington Wood was a good cricketer. So when he come out from prison, the stigma, the shame, he couldn't tolerate it. So he take the boat. Tilaita had a child 2 weeks old. And the watchman say she's still a blogger. She says she don't steal the blogger. But you know, you never know the right or wrong of it. She said the watchman help her up. And then he applied to pick cotton. She couldn't handle it. She tell me she couldn't handle it and a well-believer. Because the watchman was well blessed. So she couldn't handle it. So he gave 3 planners, bring her in the yard, and Dias send her in jail. So the daughter know, the only daughter she have that managed to go to university, shun the mother now, you know. And the excuse she making is just an excuse. She thief blogger. Tilaita bad mouth able to carry on, you know. When she cussed them people in the village, they saying, too much wood you want. That's why Addington wood leave you and go. You know, the village have their own agricultural poetic expression. They say, I'm giving you in simple sassy. So I ask the question, shouldn't we stop blaming others? How Tilita's daughter could blame Tilita? Tilita never go to school. Addington Wood couldn't read and write. So when he go in Trinidad, he never write. And so it was yesterday. Go and ask your grandmother if you think alike. Go and ask your grandmother. The majority of them did not go to school. So they were not able to read and write. And when the men went to Trinidad, they didn't send money because they said a man going to Trinidad, he couldn't write, he sent back money, and the person who was writing the letter sent it for his mother. So a lot of our women suffered. And then you have some man like Shock waiting to help them. And they bring them again. Shouldn't we stop blaming others and examine ourselves? Our best brain in the country, our university graduates, are in the forefront looking for reparation. They're blaming the white man for enslaving us. The white man don't know damn right to enslave black people. They should not have done that. They should know better. But these people enslave us to make money. They see us as property that we were bought and paid for. And they told their children we were less than monkey. We're not human beings. So they gave their children a good excuse to satisfy their morality. They used the Bible. The Bible tells you the devil could cite scripture for its purpose. So the white man was wrong. But what's about the black man in Africa that sold his children? The black man sold us in slavery. The African leaders had a history of slavery. For over 700 years, before the white man go and buy slave, the black man was selling. Go and read about all in Mesopotamia. Go and read about the first woman they call a king. Read it. The first woman that was referred to as a king. You have to go back in Mesopotamia. You can't plead the fifth. You can't say, I didn't know. Because you have the telephone in your hand. Number of children now watching, listening to bad boy music. Mash up the place. How she want it real hard. Give her more. How to cock up. Let them use the phone in their hand to educate themselves. We blaming people. We have to stop the blame game. We cannot continue to live in lamentation. Slavery was abolished 1838. We still blaming slavery. We have the University of the West Indies. The university falls in the first 5% of universities in the world. International recognition. First 5% of universities in the world. Most governments in the Caribbean use taxpayers' money to educate our sons and daughters. Our old parents and grandparents, they wanted to control the factors of production. They had labor and they had capital, but they didn't have initiative. So they send their brightest sons and daughters to university to get initiative. When they come back, they learn in university that the greatest economic force that we have was energy. When they come back, they sell the energy. Our sons and daughters say they cannot manage. They sold the bank. They sell the electricity company. They sold the telephone company. They practically disowned the parents. They went in St. George's and built houses that they could not afford. Most of the houses they build, they can't afford it. You have a big house and a car, you have to come out in the rain to open gate. You can't even pay to touch a button for the gate to open. You can't pay butler. You can't pay maid. Most of them men that clean the house and washing, they can't afford. But they want to promote classism. So they want to justify that the education that they have has propelled them into a greater class than the parents, than the ordinary man. We have to stop the blame game. Examine ourselves. We have all what it takes. In yesteryear, there was no school for people to go. Eric Gary come on the scene. The church did too. The church built a number of schools and encouraged people to get educated. The Catholics and the old traditional churches. And as a result of that, the politicians that come from that era recognize the importance of education. Education is the answer. And you want the majority of your people to be educated. If you have only 20% of people educated, you can use a car to pull a bulldozer. You can use a car to pull a truck. The differential go mash up. But you could use a truck to pull a car. So if 30% of the people who exit school have the basic education to propel forward, it is difficult to pull the 70%. But if 70% of the people who exit school have the basic education to be competitive on the job market and propel the country, the 30% would be enveloped and it's easy to pull them. And when I speak, I dare you. Ask any mechanic, ask any trucking, and all if they just take a car to pull a truck. No! A truck could pull a car, but a car can't pull a truck. And it's the same principle that exists in education. The number of people in Grenada and the rest of the Caribbean that is meeting the minimum and basic education is too few. It's too few. I mean, come on. Those people who come out from university ought to know that. By now, 25-30% of our people should have at least a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. You don't have to have a PhD. PhD is more about publication. When you have a master's degree, you're good. If you want to propel to PhD, then it's hard. What is happening in our country? The few people that is succeeding, they don't want plenty people succeed. Because they believe they're in a higher social class. They believe the education they have put them in a higher social class. That is why we're not changing the dynamics on the ground. How the dynamics on the ground going to change? There are some communities since Lanel Canal. They say they have low socioeconomic strata. Hundreds of people got scholarship, but the communities still remain like that. The people who are forced to stay in the community abscond from the community. And those who get the chance to leave, they're living in societies or in an environment where they believe they are of a higher social class. One dentist we have in Ticola, one. She ain't coming back. She don't even visit in Ticola school and have a little discussion on oral health. All she sees is that children teeth whitening. She didn't even go back and counsel them. She living in St. George's. She have a big house in Accra. And just now she had to go in her home, you know. Because this big house she have there, she do have children. She had to go in her home just now. For security purpose. She had to go in her home, she can send this big house. Those children she abandoned on the road, they're going to go inside there and take her care. So she had to go and hide in her home. And she had to watch this big mansion that she built from the blood, the sweat, and the tears of her people stay and rot. A partner tell me they only building this house for poor people, children, and bat. You have one lunatic in the house to watch it, for thief not to go with it, and he full of bat. You don't see all them big houses, huh? How are we going to improve our society if we continue to live in lamentation? You can't change the course of history. You can't right the wrongs of the past. It is important to know the past so you don't make the mistakes of the past. How could you blame your parents for not able to buy canned beef? Because canned beef was 56 cents a tin. Now canned beef is about $12. But even if your parents buy canned beef, it don't expire. How could you blame your parents for not buying land $50 an acre? Because land now is sell $50 a square foot. Your parents was working for $2 a day, $3 a day. The financial institution never tolerated them. They used to pay their own thing to own some things. You have a better education than your parents, you must do better. The reason why we're not doing better as a people, because we're living in lamentation. And we're using the blame game as an excuse for low productivity and poor performance. The University of the West Indies has failed us. The University of the West Indies have elevated us. That is a paradox. How could you say the same organization that elevates you and give you international recognition also fail you? Yes, it's true. The University of the West Indies fall in the first 5% of universities in the world. And as a result, he has brought international recognition to the Caribbean. But the University of the West Indies have not answered the dreams and aspirations of our people. The prisons in the Caribbean, every one of them, are overpopulated. The majority of people in the prison did not have a good education. So based upon mathematical analysis and the laws of deduction, if you have a good education, you're less likely to end up in jail. Doesn't mean you couldn't do wrong, but you're able to pay a lawyer. You're able to give the judge encouragement money. But if you're poor, you're going to go in jail. So why is it we are so satisfied with mediocrity? Why is it we so accepting low productivity in our big institutions? Why is it we continue to blame slavery and blame the colonial masters and blame the United States of America and blame England and France and Germany and blame the butcher of the Congo for our present status? We have electricity, telephone, water, internet. Grenada have the most landowners in the region for almost 50 odd years. Then why is it we're not doing as well as we could do? I believe it's a question of mentality and attitude. We sit down waiting for our grandfather back pay. Your grandfather back pay is not yours, it's for your father. If your grandfather back pay comes for your father and your mother, not yours. Why are you waiting for your grandfather back pay for? We have what it takes to develop. We have what it takes to do better. We have to stop blaming. You cannot right the wrongs of the past. It's important to know the past, so you will not make the mistakes of the past. But you cannot live in lamentation. How could you blame your parents? Your parents had the education that you have. How could you show your parents should blame your grandparents? And your grandparents should blame your great-great-parents. Your great-great-grandparents, they poor like church mice. Never used to go to school. Some of them hope their son learn a trade. The main area for employment was agriculture and fishing. The job market has changed. The dynamics has changed. Go and sit down home and talk to your parents. And ask them what were the jobs available then. Ask them what education. Ask them about the disease that existed prior to in the 40s and the 50s. They had jigger and they had yas. Some of them belly big. They come, they say, all of them are hookworm. So the doctor used to give them alcopa. All of them, he said, all of you are hookworm. He's sharing alcopa, give everybody hookworm. They used to die from tetanus. When they have a tumor, they say it's obia. And soothsayers used to go wrong and give them advice. Drink ven lache wat, a cholera is passing. And they used to take the advice. Put green sauce up in water and bone corn and drink it for cooling. Because they say the body on fire to cool down. We have a better education. We didn't know that sanitation. We didn't know water to bed. So people used to bed once a week and twice a week, and they used to wash their foot and wash up. But just by improving the sanitary practice, we were able to wipe away diseases. You know crabblers now? We bed into regular. How crabblers going to survive? Crabblers used to walk all in your eyebrow. But we're using more soap. We're using grease. We're bathing twice a day. So these diseases have disappeared from our country. We have to stop the blame game. Some of our leaders in the past recognize the power of education. And they spend money and time to build schools, to attract the St. George's University, primary education, pre-primary education. We have another word that is used, kindergarten. I think kindergarten might count in America. And the American society influence our culture, whether we like it or not. We like to hate America, but think we're American. And then they realize, although they build a school, we're not going to school. They used to beat black people, children in school. They say, tan, they hide, If they bleed, they bleed. 20 and 30 lashes was not uncommon in school. For minor misdemeanors, Not for fighting, If you run away from school because the dictation passage hard, you're going to get 30 lash. We have reached a stage where we have to stop the blame game. Our modern day leaders in Grenada now It's like children that get plenty money Christmas time. You know a child get plenty, never see, come see. They get plenty money, they go and buy one among the thing. They're even buying things that they don't know what it is. They squandering our public funds and they blaming people. How could it be? 50 years after independence, we can't continue the blame game. We have to solve our problems. We have to encourage every ministry, every department to establish a think tank to come up with solutions to address the challenges that we have. You can't do it alone. You can squander the public purse. You cannot sell the family silver. If you sell the family silver, then what's going to happen to those come after? You have a responsibility to fix the pitch. You mustn't tamper with the ball, but you must fix the pitch so that your children, the ball would have a predictable bounce. They would not get awkward bounce when the ball is bowled. So how come we politicians don't know that? Sometimes we have to examine ourselves and ask, how did we produce this dotish politician? They're greedy. They're promoting classism. They're telling lies more than when horse trotting. How did we reach there? We had Eric Gary. We had Mr. Blaze. We had George Bizan and Ben Jones. We had Tillman Thomas. We had Keith Mitchell. We had John Watts. We had so much a powerful and renowned politician that lived peaceful, frugal lives. They work hard. They preach peace. We have never, in our history, post-1967, have had politicians that tell lies like now. Never. We have never had politicians that squander the public purse like now. Never. We have never had politicians that incited violence like now. Then what went wrong? Who are we blaming for this group of fakes that we have? United States of America? Russia and China? The white man? Who are we blaming? We cannot blame anybody. We have to stop the blame game, examine ourselves, and wake up. We have to remember the sacrifices those who have gone before have made to fix the pitch so we could get even balls being bowled at us. You don't want ball falling on a stone. You don't want stone in the pitch. You don't want awkward bounce. You don't want the ball keeping real low. Your wicket go fall. You want to give your children a chance. You want to raise the bar on the ground. You want thinkers. One gentleman said this morning, we have to have love and economic development. I like the term. I promise to borrow it from him. We have to preach love and peace and economic development. We have some men nowadays, sad stories for men, 25, 30 years. They don't have a girlfriend. They don't have a child. They don't have a cow. They don't have a goat. They don't even have a dog. They're playing down. What's wrong with them? Somebody have to say to them, you are a male. You over 18 years. You must have income. You are the hunter. You go and get the female. You might have spent a lot of time and patience to get her. In yesteryear, we would have to write letter, cut bamboo nut, wood nut, to see how strong you are. You don't have to do that today. But you have to woo the female. We have to say to the females, if you turn the diamond you have into brass, don't expect anybody to pay you silver for it. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Well, a pleasant morning to you and all listeners out there, my brother.
It's always good to hear your voice. Welcome.
There's so many issues trending. I don't know where to start, but I heard Brother Josh said a while ago that they are working on the fishing thing, and he doesn't want to say too much and all of that.
Well, that was on the agriculture program, and you could speak on that. But we was just
well,
saying you have something making some noise in the back.
I turned it off.
Right. But we was saying that we blaming on this part of the program. We must stop the blame game and take necessary action. But you qualify to speak on any one of it.
Well, yes, we need to do so, and we use blame game to get away from accepting responsibility. Now, I just want to look at the fishing fiasco we have, the January ban that we have coming on January 1. The government had enough notice to take decisive actions to avert that. 2023, they were last notified that Grenada did not meet the compliance factor so as to continue fishing. And they replied. They replied that they were understaffed. Of course, that explanation is internal. The United States agency, NOAA, didn't really want to hear that sort of thing.
That's almost an insulting answer.
But of course, we have from August 25th, and we are now in November. But it shows a pattern of indecisiveness on the part of this leader, Deacon Mitchell. Just around the same time, the United States made the request for permission to install radar. And you heard the Prime Minister bragging that they gave him a time frame to work on, and he's saying that has passed. And I don't know if you think that that's a smart thing he's doing, because we have to put in our own request come January 1. What they have been doing successfully with the fishermen is telling them that they are working on the matter and that we will abort that ban on January 1. That's total nonsense. The law banning Grenada fish from entering the US from January 1 is already registered in the federal deposit, in the federal registry. It's already deposited in the federal registry. The registry is the equivalent to our gazette. And what the January 1 deadline is actually to give local importers the opportunity to find new source. But we had the time. We passed the legislation late in November. There's a whole lot of things that we need to do. We need to assist the fishermen in installing monetary equipments. on the boats. We need to do retraining and a whole lot of things. When the act was amended, I was disappointed that I did not hear any members of parliament talking about a plan, some financial plan, how they're going to assist the fishermen. Instead, I heard the conversation centered around who is accepting and who is not accepting a vehicle that's not needed at the time. That's not necessary. So I thought again once they bypassing the interest that matters to the people and concentrating on their own personal interest. So here we have a situation where we have to reapply to the United States government. We have to wait for approval. And I'm wondering if the United States government were to reciprocate the way Grenada did when they made the request. If Donald Trump were to invoke the Bush doctrine that everything affects everything, and if he's not with us, he's against us. I'm wondering if the United States government were to sit on our application, sit on the application that we're gonna be putting in January 1. You see, there's a lot of people that's making a lot of noise and not understanding consequences. Now, Amerijet flies to Grenada, I think twice a week. And their main cargo at this time is fishing. Fish. The main freight is fish. Now, if they can't and they will not be able to get the amount of fish that make sense, dollars and cents, to come twice a week, that may have multiplying impact on us. The source, our source, because of course the same craft that carry the fish carries the soursop. So we need to be careful in how we deal with a superpower, the United States of America. We depend upon them for just about everything. They are our biggest trading partners. We saw in the last NDC rally in Telescope where the Prime Minister was calling Randall Robinson, calling him on stage. And when I heard he was calling Randall Robinson, I said, yeah, seems like we're going to get some good news days. Randall Robinson, as the chairman of the Postal Corporation, I said he's going to bring some good news to the nation and to his listeners. I mean, to his supporters. And lo and behold, he's calling Robinson to let the DJ play uh, music. He said that is young people music. He went telling Robinson that he should offer himself with young people music. Now the Postal Corporation of which Randall Robinson is chairman, they're facing challenges. We have yet to hear the Prime Minister not one day discuss to the Grenadian people when are we going to approach the United States government to see how we could get a resolve with the Postal Corporation. This is Christmas now. A lot of people are hurting. This cottage industry. A lot of people used to send stuff to the post office and make a dollar. The CMOS, the Farin, the Tamban bar, the cottage industry, cake, and all of that. Those are issues of national concern that we should be addressing the nation. Right? We're not hearing the Prime Minister addressing no serious issues at all. The Prime Minister went back to briefcase. Briefcase was in 2000. We had 5 general elections since 2000 since the briefcase. The New National Party won landslide. 2013, they lost in 2008. The people move on with briefcase issue. They came back in 2013. They gave them all the seats. They gave them all the seats in 2018. So someone needs to tell the Prime Minister that, look, if you have really nothing to say it quietly. He gone in the telescope and I saw the both he and David Andrew, they're dancing and they're skanking. And I'm wondering, well, what is this all about? It was not long ago
The
the reign
bomb.
of terror was unleashed on the people in telescope. Unstable explosives were sent to the community. A full bomb went up, destroying buildings and injuring people, including the elderly. I don't know if that's a place to go and dance. It's a place to show some remorse and even offer an apology to the people at Telescope for what had happened to them. So, my brother, that's just some of the things that I see at the moment. And I heard you mention about the animals, the livestock, $4 million
Yes,
for
my brother. I don't know if
four, 400,
they share
460.
they give out any of the animals. Are they too fat?
Well, you know what you miss out is that the NDC are benefiting from that because an NDC man has a contract to bring in grass, to import grass into Grenada for some of the goats. They call it hay, but hay is really grass
Yeah,
thing.
grass.
Because a lot of the animals are dying. The pigs, some of the pigs, yes, some of the pigs, I saw some of them. They're huge. They got to the point where they're so big they can't serve and they can't produce and they can't breed, they can't serve.
Well, they have to eat.
And I understand.
We,
I
we
understand that. Well, it becomes so fat. I'm not so sure Butcher would be excited about buying these animals,
you
but the
sell
purpose
them
of
as
these animals was,
skulls. You sell them as
was not to
skulls. They're
okay,
not
but was not to
fatteners.
slaughter.
Yeah, but you
The
sell them
purpose
as
of
skulls.
the World Bank grant of $27 million to Grenada was to assist Grenada in development of the livestock industry, taking these animals and putting them in Maribor, or giving them to some of the a few to NDC supporters. I don't think that is the way you develop the livestock industry. It is rather sad to see how we receive a grant from a donor and how we utilize it. And then you hear the Prime Minister, and finally you hear the Prime Minister saying that if you spend $1 billion in agriculture, it wouldn't matter. The results would be the same. So what is that telling you, my brother? Maybe you need to assist in analyzing that because I just don't understand. We had a banana industry situation that collapsed under the NDC. And we pump in less than $1 million and we were able to resurrect the banana and get Grenada sheep and bananas again at one time. And you're telling me that if we spend money in poultry, we spend money in livestock, we spend money in agriculture, you're telling me that if you spend money in these areas and you help farmers, you bring back, you try to plant back nutmeg to bring back the nutmeg industry, the cocoa industry, you're telling me that if you spend $1 billion, the result would be the same. I'm not quite so sure what kind of message that Deacon Mitchell is sending for rural Grenada. But I think it is rather sad when so much was promised. He promised Greenleg trucks to pick mangoes. He promised he would give farmers loans to go around buying trucks with solar panels to go out and sell vegetables. And now in the middle of it all, he's telling you, well, even if I do all of that, the situation would be the same. So my brother, we have to we have to accelerate our opposition to this government and bring the
Yeah.
facts to the people so that they could understand, so they could make a good decision when the time comes. And we have to keep the fight on because the struggle is on. Things are bad, and we are not here in government with any kind of solution. We are not blaming government for the economic situation around the world, but what we are saying that every government is taking drastic measures to ease on the cost of living. While our government here has increased, has placed tax on sugar, water, Electricity bills have gone up. You're only seeing your bills gone up when you go to pay the bill. No one is saying anything. No one is even have the decency to address the nation and say, look, the price went up. You would see an increase in your bill. A lot of people are living on fixed income, and that's causing serious hardship for them. So, my brother, we got our work to do. Yeah,
A lot of work, my brothers. Thank you very much.
yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yes, there is no question about that. We have to stop the blame game. We cannot continue to live in lamentation. We have to take responsibility for action. And today in society, I ask the question, how did we end up with this group of people? Why did we choose our worst sons and daughters, a kakistocracy, our worst sons and daughters to lead? Where did we get this greedy bunch of rogues? It is the first time in history that you have people from a government that are deliberately disrespecting the police. It is the first time in Grenada history. Yes, during the revolution, the militia had more power than some of the police. But you have ministers openly disrespecting the police. And when I make statements like that, I challenge you and I dare you to take me on. The Prime Minister of Grenada stood on platform, public platform, on more than one occasion and used obscenities and encouraged the young people to curse battle. On more than one occasion. The Prime Minister went in the field, in the home of somebody we heard that he was a suspect already with the police, and made social media movie with an illegal substance, marijuana, in the presence of the police. The Minister of Legal Affairs and Labor was firing imaginary gun in the air and saying, shoot Babylon. Well, Babylon is the police. Tevin Andrew from Carriacou, a minister for Carriacou and Petit-Martinique Affairs, cursed the police. And he was on social media bragging about it, that he cursed the police. The sister from Guav, on very many occasions, was very disrespectful to the police. I call on the Prime Minister to make a public apology. To make a public apology. I call on the Minister of Legal Affairs to make a public apology. And not bothering with Tevin Andrew and the sister from God. They believe they have to be in everything. So they hear the Prime Minister curse the police, so they curse the police too. I'm kind of sorry for them too. They lack maturity. And this is why we don't have to fight to put young people to lead us. They must own that respect. So I call on the Prime Minister of Grenada and the Minister of Legal Affairs, a lawyer by profession, a woman jumping up in the air and disrespecting the police and encouraging particularly those on the fringe of the law to curse the police. This group of individuals, and I don't know how Dennis Cornwall, Lennox Andrew, could be a part of this group. And why do I say them? They were public officers. They were there when we had 3 structural adjustment programs. And they knew. They were well aware. They were involved. They know the sacrifices that workers had made to get it right. they contributed to the increase in the cost of living. You raise the price of sugar. You raise the price of water. You raise the price of electricity. 3 common necessary products that is used extensively in the country. You automatically raise the cost of living. Why Dennis Cornwall, Lennox Andrew did not object? That objection, that ought to be a cabinet decision. And you expect these 2 individuals in particular, because of the discipline, because of the historical involvement in the structural adjustment program, because of the constituency they come from, because their great-grandparents, the poor like church mice, these individuals ought to know better and should counsel the political neophyte that that is a wrong decision. You raise the price of sugar, automatically you affect the confectionery industries. I like that word. Long ago, those people who make cake and tart and chip and potato pudding and sweets, they tell me long ago we didn't used to say confectionery, but that's a big word. Confectionery, I like it. It has some level of romanticism with it, an agricultural poetic expression. They're supposed to say to the Prime Minister, don't do that in that manner. If you raise 3 of them at the same time, you're going to have an automatic jump in the cost of living. And the people who will be affected most are the people who in the lower income group, who making $3,000 and less, and the destitute poor. You expect these men, including Richard Duncan, to say to the Grenada Prime Minister that if you raise the price of water, you interfere in a product, in a commodity, in a substance that every country in the world want to keep low. Because when the poor man cannot pay for water, and he goes back to the river to take water, he would not bathe with great regularity. He likely to be more attracted to parasites. And he might have more crab louse on him. And he goes spread. So when you interfere with this substance, and because of the cost of it, the poor of the poor go back to the stream, you're more likely to attract disease. And when you get this disease, they're going to pass it on to those who live in gated communities. Dennis Cornwall, Lennox Andrew, and Richard Duncan ought to know that and should advise the Prime Minister that you shouldn't raise the price of water, the cost of water. Electricity. The government raised the cost of electricity. Well, if you're living in a poor country like Grenada, where the business sector is a kind of family business sector that is not very dynamic, and you want to encourage the cottage industry and light manufacturing, it is of importance that you do everything possible to leave the cost of energy low. That is not rocket science. Any ordinary man knows that. So Lennox Andrew, Dennis Cornwall, and Richard Duncan, You all have to be working on all your head. Not to have advised Deacon Mitchell, a political neophyte, that he ought not to do that. Now, who we could blame? You can't blame the war. Yes, there are some things that is expensive because of all the issue in Yugoslavia, in Russia and Ukraine. This is why the previous government ensured that there was millions of dollars there. So in the event things get worse, people would not lose their jobs for a couple months at least. Now you come in government. You raise the cost of living. You incited violence. You disrespected the police. And you interfere with the very psychic of our people. The get-rich syndrome. So the Prime Minister says he have to be a billionaire. Well, the Prime Minister is a millionaire. So the only thing he could be is billionaire. Most of the other ministers are thousandaire. So they say they want to be millionaire too.
What is thousandaire?
Thousandaire. They can't be billionaire. The Prime Minister is a millionaire. But the other ministers are thousandaire. So they say they want to be millionaires too. So they end up grab. Now what you expect would be the rippling effect on the ground. If you have a group of ministers that prepare to flaunt the laws and the regulation of the institutions just because they want to get rich, what you expect going to happen on the ground? Individuals on the ground going to realize this is a grab government. So let me grab and see what I could get to. Now, why we continue to live in lamentation and blaming other people, and we are not taking responsibility for our own action? Why? You could always have institutions, but if the integrity of the persons are low, then the institution is going to be affected. And if you have a government that comes with a policy of get rich quick, of disrespect of the law, of flaunting the laws with impunity, of promoting classism, and using expression that is fractious and demeaning to describe its people, what you going to expect? The Prime Minister want to build bigger jail. Our population has not risen in any significant way in the last 78 years. Grenada, St. Lucia was 412 persons more than us 60, 70 years ago. St. Lucia population is about 80,000 more than us now. Most of the other countries in the Caribbean population has not risen. Barbados population has not risen in any significant way. I think it's the Bahamas and Belize that has moved significantly from about 80,000 to 400,000. Dominica do our people. The Prime Minister was on the radio crying for them to have sex. The Prime Minister is a lunatic. You cannot, you have to bring in more people to your country. So what is the justification? What is the reason for expanding the prison? If your population has not risen in any significant way, why should your crime rate increase? But if the government have a policy of disrespecting the police, inciting violence, raising the cost of living, then the crime rate is going to increase. More people will be bought on the breadline. The police effectiveness is marginalized. And Grenada have one of the best police force in the Caribbean. They have more result. They are very tolerant. They're very effective. They have a high rate of solving crime. Now, how do we tolerate a group of thieves to sneak in on us? We vote them in. Dismantle the guardrails, the economic discipline. Silence those who was rampaging around the country as the custodians of good governance and transparency. Even the one who was in charge of frack, Richard Duncan, silencing. How do we tolerate that? So I speak to provoke discussion and to encourage our people to discuss this issue. We should stop blaming others, examine ourselves, and we must wake up. And while you do that, remember to give us a blight. Subscribe to our program. Share our program. Like our program. And remember, we have the Gardener's Flowers exhibition by Nikki's and Daughters.
Your contribution, let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion, and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too, agricultural, environmental, and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God